The alarm screamed like it had a personal grudge. 6:30 a.m., September 15th, my 45th birthday, and I already felt behind on a day I didn't ask for. The city outside my window coughed itself awake. Buses, brakes, a shouted curse, a siren receding. I stared at my reflection in the kitchen glass while the coffee maker gurgled. Thin hair, tired eyes, a gut that pretended my belt was a suggestion. 45 going on beige. Clara had left for her 5 a.m. workout, which she called an investment, in our future, as if abdominal definition accrued interest. Her family loved that line. They loved a lot of lines, especially the ones that wound around my neck. To them, I wasn't Leonard, person. I was Leonard, cautionary tale. Project coordinator, GED, not pedigree. Reliable like a doormat. Always. Where you left it. They weren't wrong about the reliable part. After Henderson and Associates, after email, after dishes, I'd sit at the cheap laminate desk in our spare room and load the only place my voice could live without getting laughed out of the room. True Voices. It started as a pseudonymous blog. About emotional abuse that wears pearls, about gaslighting delivered with a smile and a slice of cake. It grew teeth. A forum, then moderated groups, then live rooms with licensed counselors, resource hubs, discreet legal referrals. 2 million registered users. Anonymous me, the steady janitor sweeping up other people's nightmares until they could sleep again. The messages kept me going. You saved my life. I left. I'm safe now. My kids are safe. Some nights I cried, into the keyboard. Most nights I just kept posting, head down, heart up. I never told Clara. I never told anyone, not even the therapist I paid in cash once a month. But the mask of Leonard the Harmless kept getting heavier. And tonight, under chandeliers I was expected to wear it while my in-laws practiced their comedy. By afternoon, the Grand View ballroom gleamed like a rich person's apology. Crystal drops, white linens, a champagne fountain so proud of itself, I wanted to knock it over. Clara floated through the room in a red dress that said, "Watch me," and a smile that said, "Try me." Victor, her father, boomed my name like he owned the alphabet. Lorraine, her mother, air-kissed a full inch from my cheek, shed a diamond tear of sympathy for my existence, and advised me not to go casual in front of Senator Blake's wife. Marcus, her brother, wore a suit loud enough to file a noise complaint and called me buddy, like it hurt. I smiled. I nodded. I took the backhanded pats. The device in my pocket hummed against my ribs. A tiny transmitter a friend built that could hijack the ballroom's AV when I told it to. I felt oddly calm. I wasn't here to endure. I was here to end. Dinner was food that arrived with a resume. Victor told his 1989 real estate war stories like new scripture. Marcus explained markets to people who owned them. Lorraine leaned toward me, voice pitched for neighboring tables. "Leonard's such a good listener, aren't you, dear?" The table laughed. I glanced at Clara's champagne. 3 gone, working on a 4th. The tremor in her fingers said the show was coming. It came with the dessert cart. The lights dimmed. The screen descended. In white block letters, the first slide hit like a punch. Impotent. Murmurs. A few gasps. Then the next, divorced failure. Then, high school dropout, low income, latest single, laughter, real laughter this time. People leaned back, wiped eyes, elbowed partners. Lorraine sipped, pleased. Victor's chuckle carried. Marcus filmed. Clara lifted her flute like a conductor. "Don't laugh too much," she called sweetly to a room in hysterics. "He might cry." I didn't cry. I took out my phone, raised it just a little, and said, "Begin." The room snapped to silence like a sitcom when the laugh track cuts off. The screen hiccuped, glitched, and went black. Then a new logo pulsed. Into view. True Voices Live. Below it, a counter began to climb. 1247, 832, 1248, 019, 1249,006. Clara's smile curdled. Leonard, what is this? I stood, my chair legs scraping marble. Good evening, I said, and my voice carried without effort. You've met the version of me this family prefers. Now meet the one I kept for myself. I nodded at the screen. The chat poured by in a waterfall. We're with you. Speak it. We're here. Too fast to read, fast enough to feel. For 5 years, I said, I've built a platform for people living through exactly what you've been laughing at. We help survivors of the kind of jokes that bruise. 2 million members, partnerships with therapists, legal advocates, researchers. We meet them where they are. We give them language. And when needed, I tapped my phone. We give them receipts. Victor tried to bark a laugh and swallowed it wrong. This is ridiculous, Victor, I said, and the fact that I cut him off stunned even me. Do you remember Christmas? When you told your golf buddy I was dead weight, Clara should have dumped years ago? Color drained from his face. Lorraine, I turned. At the club, to Mrs. Peterson? Barely functional as a man. Your words. I have the file. Name if you'd like it. Clara found a thread of outrage. You recorded us? That's illegal. Single-party consent, I said, and I consented. I pressed play. Her voice, my wife's, filled the ballroom, stripped of polish, precise as a scalpel. He's pathetic, Mother, a loser. You can raise your voice, and he rolls over like a kicked dog. I only married him because he's easy to control. The real Clara dropped her glass. It shattered like punctuation. No one bent to clean it. Lorraine entered the recording with a low chuckle I'd heard for years, and finally heard for what it was. Utterly worthless. Can't even give us grandchildren. What use is a man who can't perform his most basic function? A woman near the front put her napkin to her mouth. Somebody whispered, "Oh my God." Marcus had stopped filming. His phone hung stupidly at his side. Victor's recorded baritone boomed next, a sledgehammer wrapped in a tux. Disgrace. I've seen paper bags with more backbone. Every time I look at him, I think about what a disappointment he must be to his own parents, if they're even still alive to see this train wreck. I let it sit. Let them hear themselves in surround sound. Let the room meet the family I knew. Here's the part that doesn't show up on slides, I said quietly. The months of little cuts. The public smiles, private sneers. The way a person becomes a bit. True Voices exists because so many people live inside that bit until they forget their real name. I swiped. Another clip. Marcus's voice, smug and crisp. Embarrassing having him at functions. People probably think we're running a charity. Gasps this time. A chair scraped somewhere far back. Someone whispered, Jesus. The irony, I said, is that while you all measured my worth by my salary, True Voices has been funding shelters, therapy stipends, legal fees. It generates more revenue in a month than your firm made the quarter you brag about, Marcus. I could feel Clara's fury clawing for a foothold. You're just bitter. Bitter? I almost laughed. No, prepared. The ballroom doors opened. Samuel walked in like the punchline to a joke the room hadn't realized it had told. Last time my in-laws saw him, he was the college roommate Clara labeled basement tech guy. Today he wore a perfectly cut suit and the unbothered air of someone who'd sold his first company before breakfast. He carried a leather portfolio like a verdict. Sorry I'm late, he said. Traffic. Also had to stop by the office to pick up a few things Leonard might need. Clara didn't blink. She couldn't. Lorraine looked ready to melt straight through the chair. Samuel Grant, I said. Friend, co-conspirator, chief technology, officer at True Voices. Investor, he added easily. 3 years. Not charity. Bet on a founder. He flipped open the portfolio and lifted a document so the front tables could see the letterhead. Quarterly reports. Revenue from subscriptions, corporate trainings on toxic culture, licensing, letters from partner orgs. Also, he held up a different stack. Copies for the relevant agencies. Clara found volume. "This is absurd!" Samuel smiled like a doctor who has seen this rash before. "Clara, the transfers speak for themselves." I clicked, and the projector switched to bank statements. Numbers don't need adjectives. $67,000 rerouted out of our joint accounts over 2 years into side ventures Clara had never mentioned. Real estate plays under a shell. A boutique PR firm in her name only. She had scolded me about budgeting while siphoning off the budget. The murmurs shifted timbre. No longer entertainment, more like weather about to turn. James Morrison, one of her biggest clients, stood. "Clara, is this true?" Her mouth opened and closed. No words came. "And since we're airing things out," I said, "let's talk about those perfectly legitimate tax forms I signed for you last spring, Victor." Another click, and there were the IRS letters, the corrections, the trailing emails. "Your deal needed a name, not yours. You used mine. If I hadn't noticed and cleaned it up, I would be the one explaining it to a federal judge." Silence so complete, I heard the exit sign hum. I glanced at my phone. Text from my attorney. "Filings confirmed. Counsel on standby. Want us there?" I typed, "Not yet." The back doors opened again, and 5 people entered. Quiet, ordinary, brave. Members of True Voices who lived nearby and had asked if they could stand with me in person if the worst happened. A woman in her 40s stepped forward. "We're here with Leonard," she said, voice steady. "We know exactly what this is." Another lifted a hand. "He helped us find a way out. We're here to help him pry the door open." I didn't need them to say more. The room did. I turned to Clara. "You said I'm bitter. I'm not. I'm done." I held her gaze. "I'm done pretending to